bear witness to this. That's why when I learned that the black woman is the source, is the superior one,
That's right.
and I had no problem with that. With her being the microcosm, macrocosm thing. And I had no problem with that. Because I knew it all the time. And you know it too. The only you got problems is when you try to stand up. Submission is power. Yeah, submission is power. So now with the black woman, we have that calendar. Interesting about that calendar. In the calendar, it's built in the Ptolemy period. This temple of Dendera. The temple of Hathor at Dendera. It's built in the Ptolemy period. Now, when this temple is built, this is almost, you can say that Egyptian history is over by the time the Greeks roll in. The Hemmitt history is over. But, as Asa Hilliard and other scholars tell you, that the priests still ran the show. Because those boys, those Greek boys, when they came in, they were still scared of what they had taken over. So they really mind their business. When they got in, the priest told them what to do, they did. The priests would come and say, yo, we need a temple built. The Greeks didn't build a temple. The Greeks said, okay, build a temple, and the Egyptians built the temple. And in this temple, they tore down an older temple. And in that temple was a crack in the wall. And in that wall, they got a crack out. They got some papyrus out to tell them how to construct the new temple. And the blueprints for it, all on the crack. You see, with all of the mythology to put in the wall, because these are nothing but walking libraries, stone libraries you go into in Alabama. So they built this temple and put a big old ceiling in the calendar. The Greeks later, the French later roll in and take it off the wall. The beast said, I got to have it, and take it and put it in the Louvre in Paris. This big, huge calendar in the center. And they call it the zodiac, but it's called the planisphere. The French call it, that's the planisphere. And they take this and they take it back to the Louvre in Paris. But they build this big old thing in Hemmitt, this planisphere, and the mythology in here is unlike the mythology that they have been serving for the last 10,000 years. The mythology is from one of an older date that we could trace back, and we could say, if we're going to talk about this Atlantean period, the mythology is that of that black woman. Now, she has a son. The son is called Set or Sut. Sut is what the Africans used to say, or Sut is what they used to say. The Greeks call it Set. You have this, her son, his name is Set. He's known as the prototype of the devil, but he's not the devil at first. He's a good God. He's a good God at first, and he's given the dominion over all of the celestial pole and all of the planets, all of the stars, and all of the universe. He's given dominion over all this. And he is the prototype in which Osiris, Ra, Ptah, Horus, you would say Osar, Ra, Ptah, Heru, all of these were fashioned after this good God, Sut, or Set, at first. Something interesting happens. Now we got to know that the mythology is explaining some part of science. Something interesting happens. All of a sudden, he falls from glory. Now Set or Sut is known as a blue-black god at first. The first primordial patriarch of all times. His star is known as Sirius at first. As known as Sirius, which is the primordial star of all time, which is the great provider that gives the water to the Nile, that actually gives the blood flow to this planet. It's called Sirius. It is our sun's sun. It is the sun behind the sun. Our sun is a huge, vast body. Then you have a sun 16 times greater. This is our sun's sun. So if you would go to a heavenly realm, when you would transform into a heavenly realm, either dead or alive, depends on what you want to do. And you walking around, the sun you would see would not be your sun, would be Sirius, our sun's sun. But anyway, getting back to Set, or Sut. Set, it has dominion over his whole mother's creation. It is interesting. You see about the Akashic records, it never ceased to amaze me about Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The reason why I talk about him, because I know it get on scholars' nerves. You see what I'm saying? because they're still trying to validate things to the white boy. They're not going out and trying to get the supreme wisdom for their own self. He has a son by the name of Rasul Muhammad. This is his baby son. And he's the minister over the mosque in Detroit. I got a friend that goes to the University of Michigan, used to go to Morehouse. And he said he was explaining to him about Massey's works and about, you can get a lot of the great mother in John G. Jackson's Man, God, and Civilization, who is Masseyite. So he's explaining to him about, he said, oh, that's funny. It's funny you're talking about this woman God. He said, because my father told me before he died that Allah created himself out of the feminine half of the universe. You see how these Akashic records and this supreme knowledge, how he's working it in to give to a people today in an organized religion today? You understand? Which Allah simply means all, and if you get the Kabbalion, right in the Kabbalion, the word for all is coming from the teachings of Tahuti, and Allah means all in all, and that all is right in the Kabbalion, which coming from Tahuti, which means it's an older source. So we can trace everything we want to back to the Nile Valley and on back further. So he says it's interesting that this, my father said that this stuff was created this God was created from Allah was created from the feminine half of the universe, which means the womb, which Hemmitt is saying is explaining the womb. Now Set, a suit, all of a sudden, in the mythology, supposedly, he falls from glory. Same Lucifer thing that you get in the Bible, how Lucifer was the devil, was a great angel and all. Because remember now, the great gods that you see in Kemet, they say, oh, this what you call it, not a monotheistic, but a polytheistic religion. They got all them gods. Those gods later on in the biblical term turn into angels. You want to trace them, you trace them into angels. Massey talks about that. Turn into angels. Still a polytheistic religion, if you want to put it that way. But we understand that polytheism is actually the God one or the one God. Get ancient Egypt, fetish to God, 1935, the year E. Wallace Budge dies. He said, I wrote Gods of the Egyptians 15 years earlier, and I've been wrong this whole time. He said the gods was always a monotheistic religion. He said, what I'm seeing is different aspects of the one religion, of the one God. Put them all together like a piece of puzzle, and you got one God, or the God one. It always was a monotheistic religion. But if it was a polytheistic religion, would it ever make any difference? Would it? Not really, because somebody told you you're supposed to worship one God. We won't get into that. But it's a monotheistic religion. See what I'm saying? Same thing. Now this Set, or this suit, getting back to him because I want to move along. He falls from glory because people are still worshiping the mother and not worshiping him. You can get a story of this in Gerald Massey's book, Ancient Egypt, Light of the World, Volume 1, which is good now because we couldn't get it at first, but through health research and these spiral-bound paperbacks for 70, you can get the hardbacks now for the same price. Or you can also, from Black Classic Press, they have printed a softback for like $24 a piece for both volumes. So creators working. But anyway, he falls from glory because he wants people to worship him, and they're still worshiping the mother. Now, all of this is a mythological story to explain some scientific terms in the realm of the occult. Now, going to Atlantis. Supposedly Atlantis, which is this same period, which is nothing but Africa, personified as the whole world when the black man was God and the black woman was God and ruled the whole world. The magicians, or what you would say the priests, I don't want to use that word magicians because that word magic is kind of spooky. The metaphysicians, the occult sciences, you would say the esoteric scientists. That'll be a good one.
Sacred scientists.
Right. Sacred scientists. The priests, they understood that there was different realms of the spiritual world. I don't want to get into it right off. And in those worlds, if they are God and they transform these chakras up to the pineal gland, they could travel in these worlds and they could do work in these worlds. Well, supposedly, these priests were doing work in these worlds with the initiates. And they abandoned the initiates too far. An account on this is some books that I asked them to order. And they got them in. It's called The Astro Body by A.E. Powell. We got some here. Y'all buy them before this thing is over. In the chapter on the human artificials. Check. Now, they were doing work in this world. And so-called they left the initiates up too long. Now remember, in this metaphysical world, your own thoughts has got just as much weight in the universe as the planets and as your physical body. It's no different. Because